special outreach program in different regions. Conversion of youth centers into modern youth hubs through artistic, physical, and other activities to promote a healthy behavior in the community, and introduction of a Mauritius Recreation Council bill for the establishment of a Mauritius Recreation Council, which will be responsible for the promotion and organization of recreational activities in Mauritius. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am also informed that the Centre Idriss Goumani has been carrying out drug sensitization sessions with women in Force Vive of Plaine Verte. Furthermore, since last year, Centre Idriss Goumani has been delivering UNODC-approved drug sensitization activities for students in the region. The program is called Get Connected. Since last year, Centre Idriss Goumani has delivered the program in several secondary schools based in these regions. Mr. Speaker, sir, with a view to preventing the entry of drugs in the country, I'm informed that the Mauritius Ports Authority is working in close collaboration with the Mauritius Revenue Authority and the police for intelligence sharing. The MPA is conducting regular crackdown operations together with all the major stakeholders to prevent illegal activities in the port area. The CCTV cameras in the port area will be upgraded with the latest technology capable of covering a wider range over port activities. The project is expected to be operational by September 2022. In addition, an IT-based access control system will be introduced which will provide real-time control and will be fully integrated into the port IT network. Mr. Speaker, sir, as the House is aware, we have been taking bold measures despite the COVID-19 pandemic to address the drug problem in Mauritius, and these have produced positive results, and we are determined to continue unflinchingly to fight it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. The Prime Minister is right in saying that the statistics cannot be telling. For example, in 2018, there was 179 crackdowns, but for 11 months in 2021, 67 only, with regards to drug consumption and drug use in the region, because simply the drug sellers and the drug dealers are outside these regions, on the outskirts of these regions. Can I ask the Honourable Prime Minister whether these regions that supply drugs, the Acting Commissioner of Police is surely aware of these regions, whether strong crackdown can be held there, like the one there was some time ago in Cité Saint-Clair, which brought results, and these regions are no longer able, like Cité Saint-Clair is no longer able to provide drugs to that region anymore now?
Well, apart from, let's say, part of cannabis, which is not only, I wouldn't say manufactured, the plants are planted here, and therefore the drug is available locally. There are also imported cannabis, but the other drugs, all the other drugs are imported. So they come either through the airport or through through the sea route, not only being the harbor, but as we know, there are a number of cases where we have police have been able to seize and arrest people coming by boat, by ship. So obviously, the issue with regard to drug fighting is throughout the country, because it is because that drugs are coming from abroad and that are circulating from one region. Obviously, it ends up in that region which you mentioned in your question. So The fight against drug is at the national level, but we have to be careful also, because there are peddlers, not only from outside the region, which you have mentioned in your question, but also from within the region. And if you look at the number of cases, I think I mentioned, but I have the statistics for the past years also, there have been so many cases whereby people who are involved in drug dealing and who reside within this region have been arrested. Now, there are a number of cases which eventually end up before the court, and quite a number of them, I must say quite a number of them have been convicted.
Thank you. There is an increase visibly on the ground in terms of drug consumption and drug use, and also what is visible on site is regular patrol from ADSU is not there anymore. And furthermore, officers of ADSU residing in these areas like Plainvert, Vallepito, and Tongba, who were very effective in information gathering on the ground because they live there, these officers have been transferred. So can I request the Honorable Prime Minister to talk to the Acting Commissioner of Police to enhance these aspects that I've just mentioned to him?
Well, there are a few issues which you have raised in one question. The first one being that there are no more regular patrols. This is not correct. I can tell you. Sorry? No. This is what I'm saying. I have inquired into, for example, number of cases, what is being done, and there are, in fact, I can say today that there are more operations that are being carried out. Probably one might, maybe if you're not aware, one might not notice, because some of those operations are not being carried out by officers who wear uniforms with police vehicles, which you can easily recognize. That is why, because of course it is important that we have people dressed civilly who cannot be identified as such, so that they can be more effective in the fight against those traffickers. Now, well, you mentioned a few things, so that we're being transferred. This is, well, Mr. Speaker, sir, this is something that happens regularly within the police force, also within a particular unit. I am not going to say for what reason there are transfers. There are many reasons why officers who have been posted at a particular station or unit, after some time, they are transferred, obviously, some of them, and there are reasons for that. And they are not the same reason, for different reasons also. But you can rest assured that what is important is that we have, at least we try to have sufficient number of officers in the unit, especially for that particular fight against drugs, and that they are officers who are also, of course, efficient. So it is not that officers have been transferred and there are less officers. This is not correct.
Honorable Rajauti.
Mr. Speaker, sir, what the Honorable Prime Minister has said is quite different from what is happening on the ground. I wrote to the Commissioner of Police a few weeks ago to inform him about precise location of where drugs are being sold, synthetic drugs are being sold. Not only I didn't receive any acknowledgement, but there has been no landing carried out. I went and I spoke to an officer of ADSU, and instead of carrying out the crackdown, he asked me to give him the name of my informer. They were more interested in knowing who was the informers than actually cracking down. So may I ask the Honourable Prime Minister, despite all that he has said, that to ask the Commissioner of Police to really pay heed to this region, because drugs are being sold au vu au su de tout le monde in this region?
Well, the Honourable Member has stated certain facts. obviously I need to check those facts. If you have written to the Commissioner of Police, obviously this can be easily verified because we will, I don't know whether it is by mail or letter. If it is by letter, I will check. Now, if you have talked to an officer, I hope you can trust me. If you give me the specific detail with regard to which officer and what has happened, I will ask the Commissioner of Police to conduct an inquiry, because and I have always invited members, not only every member of this House, in fact, to provide me with information, because some members will, I'm sure, they can testify. Some members, I'm talking about the opposition, they have provided me with some information which has in fact led to, of course, the police making certain arrests, in fact. So I welcome if there are any reliable information you can provide to me, and I will pass on to relevant people in the authority to do the needful.
Yes, thank you, Speaker. Can the Honorable Prime Minister inform the House as to the amount of drugs and the commercial value thereof, says, during the period 2005 to 2009 and 2010 to 2014, compared to the last 5 years period, that is 2017 to 2021?
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, sir, in fact, this is well, it can be interpreted in whatever way it is. The total street value of drugs seized during the period 2005 to 2009 is approximately 1 billion rupees. And the total street value of drugs seized during the period 2010 to 2014 is 994 million rupees. Whereas the total street value of drugs that have been seized during I would say, the last 5 years, that is from 2017 up to beginning of November 2021, stands at 12.5 billion rupees. That's an increase of nearly 12 times. So anyone can draw any conclusion with regard to those facts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, on the same comparative note, the Prime Minister mentioned awareness campaign being run in those regions. Does the Prime Minister, if ever he has got the details, inform the House on the number of awareness campaigns on crime prevention carried out by the Commissioner of Police in the same regions for the period 2006 to 2009 compared to recent years?
Well, in fact, the crime prevention awareness campaign is carried out by the crime prevention unit of the police force. And it is interesting for me to mention, like, for example, in 2006, there were only 10 such initiatives. Let's say 2008, about 16. Let me take a year which is nearer to a change in government. 2013, there were 21, which in fact involved about 970 participants. Whereas in 2016, for example, there were 27 such operations which involved 2,209 participants. And I give the last figure for 2017, 29 such awareness campaigns, which touch some 5,743 participants, which shows that the number of awareness campaigns have been scaled up, and the number of people who have been touched by these awareness campaigns also has drastically increased.
Honorable Omia.
Thank you. Can I ask the Honorable Prime Minister if he could see with the Acting Commissioner of Police, besides all the preventive and deterring measures that has been outlined whether consideration can be seen to upgrading of Safe City camera, which would have a wider coverage area of the prone areas, which in these particular areas, such as Valley Pito, Trengba, Plain Vert, are subspecializing in redistribution of drugs. Thank you.
Well, I must say I'm happy to note that there is a request, not from the honorable member. There have been so many other requests also recently for an increase in setting up Safe City cameras at different parts of the island. Again, this is testimony that first, it does act as a prevention for those people who intend or have any idea to go against the law. And secondly, it is, as I have always said, it is an effective tool to help the police to combat crime. And contrary to what, unfortunately, what has been previously alleged that government is trying to, to try to see who is moving where and so on. This, in fact, since the installation of all these cameras, this has never happened, and it is a matter for the police to become even more efficient. So, obviously, there is a question about Safe City camera, and there are some sites which the police is now trying to identify, so that probably then decision will come when they will see which area, which region, and which place they will put those cameras. So we, of course, I take note of the suggestion that you made, and I'll pass it on to the Commissioner of Police.
Last question, thank you. Insofar as drug fighting is concerned, there is distribution of methadone at G2 Hospital. I would like to make a specific request to the Honorable Prime Minister to request the Commissioner of Police to have enhanced presence of police officers there, because when these people come to take their methadone, they hang around for a long time, creating havoc there, causing disturbances to nearby secondary school, Raoul Rivet, giving bad example, and also to patients going to G2 Hospital for treatment. A special request to the Commissioner of Police to look into this aspect for enhanced presence of police officers, for them to move away once they've taken their dose of methadone. Thank you.
In fact, some time back, this matter was brought to my attention, and of course the police, the Commissioner of Police had done the needful to have, first of all, more officers to be posted at the very time when the methadone is being distributed, and also to see to it that those people do not loiter around after they've already received their dose. But obviously I can ask the Commissioner of Police to have a look again and to see to it that if things are going according to what we expect, and if there's a need to, of course, try to tell those people, to make them understand that they should not stay around and that they should move on. I'll pass on that suggestion also.
Honourable members, the table has been advised that PQ B1147, B1148, B1149, B1150, and B1143 also have been withdrawn. Time over. The case
B1155.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that given the prevailing sanitary condition, a decision was taken on 11th November 2021 by my ministry to put on hold routine surgeries for a period of 1 week based on the trend of admission of COVID-19 patients and to prioritize emergency cases only. This decision is being reviewed on a weekly basis based on the assessment of the COVID-19 admission, the staffing, and the availability of beds. After thorough assessment of the evolving sanitary condition on Monday 15th, 2021, and following consultations with the Director of Health Services, it was decided to continue with routine surgeries in all the fields. Mr. Speaker, sir, since January 2021 to date, more than 35,000 surgeries have been performed in our regional and specialized hospital, with a mean waiting time of 12.9 weeks, including 20,000 planned surgeries and 15,000 emergency surgeries during the same period. Mr. Speaker, sir, with your kind permission, I'm tabling the document providing information requested by the honorable member.
Thank you. So I welcome the decision that this measure to postpone patients who are on the waiting list, not only on the waiting list, but on the book list, and they will have their surgeries in due course. But I would like to make a suggestion to the Honorable Prime Minister, to the Minister, and it is a suggestion made by the Dr. Navin Ramgoolam yesterday in an open letter he addressed to the Honorable Prime Minister, to maybe, in order to not to have changing decision time and again, in regards to G2 Hospital, which I raised at adjournment time some time ago, to consider Bruno Chong and the sports complex of Côte d'Or as specialized COVID centers, so that once and for all we are fixed and hospital can function adequately. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the ENT hospital already earmarked to treat emergency cases and cases of COVID-19 patients, and the availability of beds in the different hospitals, there has been at no time any shortage of beds. Now, converting a hospital which is delivering services for the whole region and only cater that hospital dedicated for COVID-19, the problem would be how are we going to deal with the other services the hospital is providing? That will create a big disturbance for all the other services, and then we won't be able to manage all these services in other hospitals. It will be a huge inconvenience for the patients, for the population living around that place. Now, if ever the condition is like that we have more admissions, and obviously that we have to cater for more beds, and whatever beds that are available at present, we are not able to meet that demand, obviously then we have to look for other centers. According to our preparedness plan, we have already in the updated preparedness plan make provision for additional beds in the different setups that we can use for COVID-19 patients.
And on 10th November, there was a meeting at the ministry whereby it was decided to call back all staff who were on vacation leave because there was a shortage of staff. I've heard a lot of protagonists speaking on this. Can I ask the Honourable Minister whether this has been successful, and nursing officers and other staff of hospital have started to resume back duty because there is a real need for them at the moment right now in the hospital?
Mr. Speaker, sir, obviously, because we had the last 2 weeks, we had the number of cases that were admitted in the hospital were increasing, and the ministry had to make provision for more staffing. We have also to say the number of staff being in isolation, the number of staff being tested positive. So that's why the decision was taken that we have to cancel the vacation leave, all the other leaves that we have, so that we make sure that the number of staff present working in the hospital, we don't have any shortage of staff. That's why that decision was taken.
Blue team.
Because, sir, being given that a number of nursing staff is being dedicated to treat COVID patients, can the Honourable Minister inform the House whether there are sufficient nursing staff to carry out the other medical services at the hospital, and in particular to assist in surgery?
Mr. Speaker, sir, that's why that decision was taken, to cancel the leave of other staff, and at the same time to make provision for, in case in the future we keep on having more cases, how do the ministry, how the hospital should run, especially to offer services. That's why that was a weekly decision, to postpone surgeries, to postpone routine cases. And it's an evolving situation that every week we are having different scenarios. Hopefully that since the last 2 weeks, now the cases are, the trend is we have decreasing number of cases and the hospital are able to cope with the number of admission, especially, and also the number of discharge. So this is a dynamic situation that we are having, but the staff working, we have to make sure that staff are not on leave because daily we are having absentees besides being on vacation leave. So all those different factors have to be taken into account before any decision taken about the other different services offered in the hospital.
No supplementary.
Mention has been made by the minister himself or government of recruiting staff overseas. Can the minister inform the House?
Yes.
Where matters stands concerned, in which countries, whether contacts have been taken through with friendly countries, to inform the House accordingly.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. So yes, in fact, the request from the Ministry to the Ministry of Labour and Foreign Affairs, we have already done the request, and they are doing the different. That is, it's an ongoing matter. Now we are following closely till we start. We'll be getting staff, foreign staff working in our hospitals.
Next question.
B1156.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the Road Development Authority, which operates under the aegis of my ministry, is responsible, amongst others, for the construction, care, and maintenance of main roads and motorways. These include the maintenance and replacement of traffic signs along motorways, as well as classified roads, and fixing of new traffic signs approved by the Traffic Management and Road Safety Unit, the TMRSU, when constructing new roads. I'm informed by the RDA that routine maintenance and replacement of faded traffic signs are carried out by the maintenance department of the RDA, either through its direct labor or outsourcing through its framework agreement. The framework agreement is finalized and awarded following an open advertising bidding exercise, which is carried out by the Central Procurement Board. I wish to highlight, Mr. Speaker, sir, that the scope of works awarded under the framework agreement is not specific to road signage only. It in fact contains several items related to road works, such as resurfacing of roads, provision of footpath, provision and replacement of handrails and other furniture, and it also includes replacement and maintenance of road signage. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed that from 2015 to date, a total amount of 25.2 million rupees has been disbursed by the RDA for the replacement of traffic signs under its framework agreement. The scope of work in this respect are as follows: supply of signs, posts, and fittings, digging out the foundation for posts, supply and laying concrete for foundation, including anchor bars to be welded to the post, mounting and fixing the signs, including bolting and securing the sign panel to post, and painting of metallic support. I am in this respect tabling a list of such works allocated since 2015 to date, with detail on the contractors and the costs. Mr. Speaker, sir, with time, aging of traffic signs occurs as a consequence of the impact of environmental conditions such as sunlight, wind, and dust. As a result, a significant number of traffic signs has degraded all around the island. Thus, there was a need to address these problems in a holistic manner. This could have been difficult under the framework agreement, where works are allocated on a region-wide basis, and for each region there are different contractors. Accordingly, the RDA in September 2020 invited bids from 8 potential suppliers for the supply of some 2,700 traffic signs under reflectorized diamond-grade sheets to the latest international standards, to be installed by the authority itself around the island to replace faded ones. The method of procurement used was requests for sealed quotation through e-procurement. After an evaluation exercise, a contract was awarded to Road Sign Plus for an amount of 4 million rupees. The contract is still ongoing as at date, I'm informed that 90% of the signs have been supplied to the RDA. The latter is proceeding with the installation of these signs for its direct labor after having the clearance of the TMISU. Thank you.
Thank you. Signage provide valuable information to drivers and road users in general, and they maintain order and reduce accidents. And it is why the Road Development Authority has in recent years amended their specifications, like the Minister has said, to go for diamond grade, auto-reflective, which is very expensive stuff. Now, can I ask the Honourable Minister, how does he reconcile with the fact that after RDA has gone for these specifications, there are some classified roads whose signage have faded away, like he mentioned in his question, in his original reply, even though they are of that kind of world highest standard?
No, Mr. Speaker, sir. The tender for the diamond grade was invited in September 2020. And the delivery of those diamond grade are still ongoing. And the replacement has just started. Obviously, there will be, it won't happen overnight by magic. It will take some time.
This is very specialized specification. Is there an authority that is advising the authority whether what is being supplied comply with what is in the specification, or the engineers of the RDA, they themselves decide by themselves?
Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, as I said in my reply, in the first part of the reply, in the first paragraph itself, I said, I repeat myself, Mr. Speaker, sir, the motorways are well classified road and fixing of new traffic signs approved by the TMISU. So that's the Traffic Management and Road Safety Unit that approve those signage.
Is the Minister aware that there is a real problem on crossers? Following the resurfacing of roads, I'm talking about one classified road in Royal Road, Bobassin, near the Tang supermarket and the a new commercial center, where for months, more than 3 or 4 months, they have been resurfacing. My colleagues and myself, we have been insisting upon the RDA to have, formerly they were painting on the crosser, white lanes. And now there is apparently a new type of equipment, sort of triangle. Can the Minister inform the House whether he has been aware that there is a shortage of that equipment to be put, reflecting equipment to be put on crosser, and what immediate action the RDA intends to take to avoid accident, loss of lives on crossers?
Mr. Speaker, sir, the main question relates to road signage. And regarding crossings, sometimes this pertains to TMSU looking into, the local council looking into, there's RDA looking into. But I take note of what the honourable member comment and we'll look into.
Last question.
Whether it is TRMSU engineers, whether it is RDA engineers, they are government engineers. Whether it is TRMSU or RDA which is procuring, it is taxpayers' money. Now, my question is as follows. Which authority, competent and qualified, satisfies that the road signage comply with the specification spelled out by the authority who has issued the specification?
I am not too sure why the honourable member is insisting on the same point, Mr. Speaker, sir. So, however much he insists, it will remain the TMISU that give the approval for the signage.
Next question.
B1157.
Mr. Speaker, sir, as regards parts A, B, and C of the question, the information as provided to me by the NHDC Limited is being tabled. As for part D, I am further informed that Mr. G.R. has worked at the NHDC Limited since March 2016 and presently holds the post of Housing Estate and Development Officer. This post was reportedly advertised internally on 8th October 2020, and Mr. GR was called for an interview on 18th November 2020. I am told that after the candidature of the gentleman, who was recommended by the interview panel, the board of the NHDC Limited, at its meeting held on 26th November 2020, approved the appointment of Mr. GR as Housing Estate and Community Development Officer with effect from 1st December 2020 for a probationary period of 6 months. According to information provided by NHDC Limited, Mr. GR was eventually confirmed in the post with effect as from 1st August 2021.
Can I have a copy of the document tabled by the Minister, please? Yes. Thank you. Just before his appointment to the post of Housing and Estate and Community Development Officer, that was on 1st December 2020, the Honourable Minister, the DPM, was the recipient of a letter dated 13th August 2020 from Syndic Résidence Dodo and Épervier Latour-Koenig, copied to the Prime Minister's office with a series of issues. It's a 5-page letter. I'm not going to go into all the issues, but there is one that has caught my attention, and I wish to bring it to the attention of the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister, because this was the subject of an ICAC inquiry as well, regarding a conflict of interest of Mr. GR cannot obtain money from 15 syndics for auditing their monthly account at the same time working at NHDC. So I'm going to table this letter because it's a long letter. So can I ask the Honourable Minister whether he has had discussions, because he's the recipient of a letter, it's a duly signed letter, he has had discussion with this management of the NHDC to see whether this matter has been cleared at the level of the NHDC, the doubts raised in this letter, and the ICAC issue as well.
Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Gentleman says I am the recipient of the letter. Now, surely he can state that a letter was addressed to me, but he cannot state what letter I have or have not received. Now, I do not have any personal recollection at this point in time of any such letter, but of course, almost every day, ministers are in receipt of letters of complaint. And in the case of the NHDC, this is a regular feature. People not having obtained a house, complaint. Sometimes there are allegations of impropriety, sometimes complaints of the mere delay, which is in itself a cause for concern. And invariably, all such letters are referred to the administration in my ministry for further investigation. Now, I have no recollection of having received any feedback from my ministry concerning any such letter. However, information collected in order to answer this question does confirm that there has been an inquiry from ICAC in the course of the first part of 2021 concerning allegations against Mr. GR. Now, again, as the Honourable Gentleman who has been, I believe, at the head of the NHDC at some point in time in the past, complaints to ICAC are also very frequent in relation to the NHDC. So in this particular case, there was a request from ICAC for information, I am told. I am also told that NHDC has provided all the relevant information, and there has been no further communication from ICAC since June 2021.
Yes, thank you. Can I ask the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister whether one of the responsibilities of the officer in question is to go around and to check for hardship cases and report back to the NHDC, because quite a huge percentage of housing units that are developed by the NHDC is attributed to hardship cases based on the report of Mr. GR. Is this one of his remit? Is this one of his responsibility? Because if the reports are not bona fide, then we might be having cases of people who are waiting for 25 years, and then, well, I'm not casting any doubt on the character, but I'm just reading the letter. If people above on the list with 1 year, 2 year waiting time are surpassing those who are waiting behind, then we will have an issue of inequity in housing distribution.
I'm sorry, I missed the last part of the supplementary question.
If for example, people who are on the waiting list for 20, 25 years are waiting and they have the means to buy a housing unit, which is, as you know, there are demand far exceeds supply at this point in time. If, based on the report of Mr. GR, if this is one of his remit at the NSDC to prepare report for hardship cases, then we might be having cases where people who are new on the waiting list, because Mr. GR has qualified them as being hardship cases, they will overtake those who are on the list for 20, 25 years.
I understand from information gathered that this gentleman has long experience in syndic matters. I've also been provided information that in 2016, he was first recruited on the contract, I believe, I'll have to check, as a sports coordinator. Now, he is now Housing Estate and Community Development Officer in the document I have tabled, and which is in possession of the Honourable Gentleman. The responsibilities are listed. I do not see anything specific concerning hardship cases, but there are general duties such as facilitating social dialogue. So that may presumably include visits and recommendations concerning hardship cases. So I do not know for sure, but that may be the case. Now, we all know that each time the NHDC allots housing units, there are 1, 2, or 3 housing units that are allotted to hardship cases as recommended by NGOs, and they have a process, I suppose, of verification along with the NGO. But I cannot say for sure whether Mr. GR is directly involved in such an exercise. Now, I listened carefully to the Honourable Gentleman. If he has any personal information as to conflict of interest, I would be very interested if he would communicate same to me, and I would undertake to look into it.
Merci, Madame.
Oui, Monsieur le Président, et je profite de l'occasion concernant la question sur Monsieur G.A. pour faire une demande au Deputy Prime Minister concernant la NHDC de la caverne, où les habitants utilisent le parking depuis bientôt 10 ans, 25 ans. Et le monsieur JR est de ceux qui mettent la pression sur les habitants, sur les propriétaires des logements de la caverne pour évacuer le parking. Et depuis quelque temps, je reçois pas mal, je suppose le député Lobine aussi reçoit pas mal de complaintes des habitants. Est-ce que le ministre peut voir avec la NHDC si on peut régler ce problème-là et surtout parler à M. GR, parce que c'est lui qui est un peu l'instigateur pour mettre la pression sur les habitants de la caverne Vacquois.
That is the allegation, and of course I'm no longer a member of parliament for the constituency, but I mean, the Honourable Gentleman does not need to wait for the PQ. Please feel free, if there are any complaints, to contact me, and I shall certainly look into it.
The table has been advised that PQ B1158 will be replied by Honourable Balgobin, PQ B1159 by Minister de Jongal, PQ B1160 by Honourable Ganou, PQ 1161 by Honourable Konjusha, PQ 1170 and 1212 will be replied by Honorable Minister of Environment. The table has also been advised that PQB 1196, 1198, 1203, 1204, 1205, 1206, B 1210, 1211, 1214, 1215, 1216, 1217, 1218, 1219, 1220, 1222, 1223, and 1224 have been withdrawn. Next question.
B 1158.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed by the District Council of Black River that on the 2nd September 2019, an EIA license was issued to the promoter, Iconic View Limited, for a development marketed as Legion Hill residential and commercial complex on the slopes of La Tourelle du Tamarin. The undertaking comprises of the construction of 29 apartments, 23 villas, and a commercial complex under the BDS property development scheme on a plot of land of a total extent of 22 acres, 90 perch. I'm also informed by the District Council that the following building and land use permits have been issued to Iconic View Limited. On 31st October 2019, for subdivision of land of an extent of 96,649 square meters into 26 lots for the development of 52 residential units and reception/concierge, fine dining restaurant, spa, gym, lounge bar, kids corner, and swimming pool under the property development scheme. On March 2020, for infrastructural works for proposed residential and commercial complex under the property and development scheme. 13 March 2020 for 23 villas, including respective mini sewage treatment plants, 29 apartments, 1 common pool, 2 water tanks, 1 pumping station, 2 sewage treatment plants for apartments, 1 security gate post, 2 technical rooms, and on 22nd January 2021 for the construction of a ground plus 2 floors building for the running of a clubhouse consisting of a reception, concierge, fine dining restaurant, spa, gym, lounge bar, kids corner, and swimming pool. Mr. Speaker, sir, as date, no motion for a stop order has been tabled at the District Council of Black River.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. En réponse à ma question parlementaire B519 sur le même sujet, il était dit que, je cite, « The design report for the drainage infrastructure downstream of the site is awaited from the proponent for the assessment of the land drainage authority to ensure that the runoff is safely discharged to the sea ». Est-ce que je pourrais demander au ministre le ministre responsable de la gestion des risques de catastrophe n'est malheureusement pas là, mais j'espère que le ministre Balgobin pourra me répondre. Where does the matter stand with regards to the land drainage issues? Because the rainy season is coming, and it's very important to make sure that the Legion Hill project will not increase the flood risk for the inhabitants, especially for Carredas, which is a flood-prone area.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I hope the honourable member will appreciate that the question relates to where matters stand with regards to stop order motion. And I said that as of today, there is no motion for a stop order tabled at the Council. And I invite the member to ask a specific question with regards to LDA and other issues related to that project, specifically so that I can have all information pertaining to her question.
B 1159.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, the National Fruit Bat Survey was carried out across the island of Mauritius from 4th to 28th October 2021 by the National Parks and Conservation Service in collaboration with the Forestry Service, the Mauritian Wildlife Foundation, and students of the University of Mauritius. The island-wide survey was carried out in some 100 known roost sites, and the estimated population is around 107,000. The indications are that the population is stable as compared to the 106,218 bats recorded in 2019. There appears to be a decrease in the population of 130,615 bats recorded in 2020, as the survey was started earlier this year, and this has had an influence on the detectability of the bats coming out of the roost. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Special Technical Committee, as provided under Section 36 of the Native Terrestrial Biodiversity and National Parks Act 2015, met on Monday, 8 November 2021, following the island-wide survey of the bat population. The committee, whose mandate is to make recommendations and advice on the measures to be taken for controlling the bat population, after deliberation, proposed that no control exercise be carried out this year, but instead additional support be provided to planters and households to protect their fruit trees. Thank you.
The culling of bats, which is the sole endemic mammal of Mauritius, in order to protect the pecuniary interest of fruit traders, has proved to be inefficient and ineffective. So I'm very happy to hear the answer of the minister. Can I know whether the ministry is considering to subsidize up to 100% protective nets under the fruit protection scheme? Because he mentioned additional support. Which kind of support, please?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. From the comments made by the honourable member, I'm also very happy that no culling will be done this year. I have stated in the reply provided to me that the committee will provide additional support to the planters. I have some details of the support, but it has not been specified exactly what are the support, but I believe additional support, meaning over and above what is being given to the fruit planters.
Next question.
B1160.
Mr. Speaker, sir, in the context of the construction of the Victoria Metro Station under phase 1 of the Metro Express project, the Road Development Authority was requested to carry out certain early enabling works, which also consisted of the demolition of the old train workshop at Coudan. In this regard, the works were undertaken by Gamma Construction Limited and were completed on the 3rd August 2017. In view of the specific nature of the building, though not listed as historical site, all the stones were carefully removed, numbered, and stored at the RDA sub-office at Mocha. It has been proposed to use the stones to rehabilitate and restore historic sites in collaboration with the Ministry of Arts and Cultural Heritage and the National Heritage Fund. Thank you.
Ce bâtiment représentait un vestige important de notre passé ferroviaire et a été construit en 1950. Et la RDA, à travers son Divisional Manager, avait pour autant donné la garantie le 14 mars 2017 dans le journal télévisé de la MBC que ce train workshop serait reconstruit tel quel. Donc je suis navrée d'apprendre que ce ne sera pas le cas. Can the minister give the reassurance to the House that all stones and other structures that have been dismantled have been secured, and can he indicate the place where they have been kept, please?
Well, I think I just mentioned, Mr. Speaker, sir, the stones are stored at the RDA sub-office at Muka. And what I can inform the honourable member is that MEL has had meetings and site visits with representatives from the Ministry of Arts and Cultural Heritage, together with representatives of the National Heritage Fund, Ministry of Land Transport, and the Ministry of Housing and Land, to visit the ex-governor's railway station at Reggie for the possibility of coming up with a project, Mr. Speaker, sir, and to make use of the stones of the train workshop at Kudan. But nothing has been decided as yet. I must inform the honourable member also that unfortunately there is no space, no room at the place where the original building was built, was erected, and at the moment the ministries and departments I've just mentioned are deciding on the possibility of what better use can we make of these stones, and where will the building be erected, or whether we can use it to help in the building of another site.
B1161.
Yes, sir. I am informed that several meetings have been held with the Ministry of Finance, Economic Planning and Development, the Lototech Limited, the Gambling Regulatory Authority, the National Heritage Fund, and the Ministry of Arts and Culture and Cultural Heritage, to work out the modalities for those 4 special Lotto draws. And following these meetings, it has been agreed that the first 2 special Lotto draws will be held on the 18th and the 25th of December this year, and the remaining 2 Lotto draws will be organized thereafter from January 2022 up to June 2022. The dates will be chosen based on the amount of the jackpot.
Thank you. In France, from where the idea of Loto du Patrimoine first emanated in 2015, yearly a list of the sites that will benefit from the funds is published before the draws. Can I ask the Minister to reveal the criteria that will be considered and mechanism that will be put in place for the distribution of the amount collected to designated historical sites or museums?
Mr. Speaker, sir, unfortunately I don't have a list of criteria on which the projects are determined right in front of me, but I am sure that once my honourable colleague is back amongst us, feeling better, he'll be more than happy to provide the information. Concerning the list of projects by the National Heritage Fund, there is one at an annex here which I'm happy to table for the library.
Maybe can I ask the Minister to indicate the estimated amount of additional funds that the state intends to raise for designated historical sites and museums with this new measure as compared to the actual formula?
The total amount earmarked for this financial year, Mr. Speaker, sir, for the conservation, rehabilitation, and the restoration of national heritage sites under the Lotto Fund is to the tune of 35 million.
Next question.
B1162.
Mr. Speaker, sir, after an assessment of the situation with regard to the evolution of the COVID-19 pandemic and taking into consideration the safety of our youngsters in schools and the need to ensure continuity in teaching as well as learning, decision was taken for schools to be closed and for classes to be held online, as it was the case in June 2021. As I have already explained during my replies to parliamentary questions B630, B648 and B885, my ministry has already in place a national education resilience strategy since last year for ensuring continuity in learning and teaching whenever schools are closed. Our strategy provides for the broadcast of educational programs for students of grades 1 to 9 on MBC channels and on MBC TV website. Lower secondary students, grades 7 to 9, have been provided with logins to have access to educational resources available on the Student Support Portal. Moreover, all students in grades 10 to 13 and the educators have been provided with logins and have access to Microsoft Teams for them to connect online to ensure continuity in learning. Educators also use other platforms such as WhatsApp, Zoom, and Google Classroom. Mr. Speaker, as for part A of the question with regard to consultations, I wish to point out to the House that as far back as in 2020, all stakeholders have been informed that whenever schools are closed due to force majeure, we have to ensure continuity through online teaching and distance education. This has become deeply embedded in the system. In fact, many of our stakeholders have supported the idea of having recourse to online teaching and learning, especially in the context of the COVID-induced situation. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to part B of the question, there is an inbuilt, structured monitoring mechanism at the level of the ministry involving the primary inspectorate and the Quality Assurance and Inspection Division. The Quality Assurance and Inspection Division had followed up on the online teaching exercise as well as on the coverage of the curriculum. It is to be noted that this monitoring exercise is meant for internal analysis and action at the level of the ministry. I wish at this stage, Mr. Speaker, sir, to express my deep appreciation to heads of schools and educators for their dedication and support in the implementation of our National Education Resilience Strategy. And I believe the students have benefited from this mode of learning. It has also enhanced the capacity for autonomous learning, and it's this, Mr. Speaker, sir, perhaps maybe one of the major gains of the COVID-induced situation. I also wish to add that the results obtained at the level of the Primary School Achievement Certificate, the National Certificate of Education, as well as the School Certificate and High School Certificate, showed that students have, in effect, benefited from the remote learning. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm confident that with the support of heads of schools, educators and parents, students will continue to benefit from remote learning, may it be online or through the TV or even the Student Support Portal. My ministry will continue to monitor the situation closely.
Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, sir, may I ask the Honourable Minister whether her ministry is doing or has done something to close the digital divide, the gap of the digital divide that exists in our country, and it is felt by many families, especially the underprivileged families. What measures will her ministry take in order to ensure that all our kids, irrespective of their economic background, get proper education during this period?
Mr. Speaker, sir, as I informed the House earlier, through parliamentary replies, I have, with the Ministry of Social Integration, has already distributed tablets to all the students from grades 10 to 13 and students coming from families who are registered on the Social Register Mauritius. Furthermore, the Mauritius Telecom has connected more than 7,000 families to internet, broadband internet.
Bulletin.
Sorry. Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the House is aware, in private schools, all grades, be it in primary or secondary schools, they have been following online courses. Whereas in public school, only from grades 10 to 13 have been following online courses. So my question to the Honourable Minister, why is it, I'm not taking primary, but secondary, from grade 7 to 9, why are the students not following online courses, bearing in mind that the audiovisual thing that you have on MBC is only for a small amount of time, not more than 1 hour per day, and it is not catering for the needs for the syllabus of those students. And also the teachers, they already have their existing timetable. Why is it we don't give online courses for grade 7 and 9?
Mr. Speaker, sir, the planning for the classes being broadcast by on the MBC channels have been made by the MIE and the ministry's officials. What we are planning to do, we have the whole syllabus prepared and lessons prepared already for them to be broadcast on TV or on the student support portal. Now, the student support portal is also being upgraded so that we have even more lessons in there. For private secondary schools, teachers have gone on WhatsApp and other means to connect with students. This does not mean that students from the state secondary schools do not get this accompagnement, this encadrement from their educators. This is also being done. But we already have a format with classes being run on TV and on the student support portal. This can be sort of complemented by the teachers connecting with students through WhatsApp, Google Meet, and other means.
The Speaker, sir. Can the Minister tell us if at the level of her ministry, is there a monitoring with regards to the percentage of participation of students on online courses since the second semester has started, and is she satisfied with the percentage of participation?
Mr. Speaker, sir, all the Quality Assurance Department of my ministry is following up on this particular issue, and they deal with the heads of schools. The heads of schools are to monitor the situation in the school and to see to it that teachers do engage with the students and that the classes are on as planned by the ministry.
Last supplementary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, is the Honourable Minister aware that in state secondary schools, for class grades 7 to 9, there are schools which are providing online education for all subjects, certain. Some schools are providing online education for a few subjects, and some schools are not providing these. There is a disparity, Honourable Minister. So if there is a proper protocol of online learning, it would be better for the kids. And let me just add, what about our kids from the extended stream who have to take the NC exam? Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, sir, as I've just said a few minutes earlier, one does not exclude the other. There are schools, even the state schools, where teachers do connect with the students over and above the classes that are being run on TV or on the student support portal. This, as I've said, it all depends on the way it is being done. The ministry has planned to have classes for grades 7 to 9 on TV and on the student support portal. But as I've said earlier, teachers can still connect with the students. Students do ask their teachers for additional support, and this is being provided.
The table will have been advised.
As far, Mr. Speaker, sir, as far as the extended stream is concerned, there is a follow-up being done at the level of the schools.
The table has been advised that the following PQs have been withdrawn: 1225, 1226, 1227, 1223, 1179, 1232. Next question.
1163.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed that since resumption of studies for the second semester on the 13th September 2021, till closure of the school on 9th November 2021, 2,407 students and 951 teaching and non-teaching staff were tested positive for COVID-19. All of them were asked to self-isolate and follow treatment as advised by the Ministry of Health and Wellness. With regard to the information being sought in respect of the Delta variant, my ministry does not have such information, as it is the Ministry of Health and Wellness which conducts the genomic sequencing. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to part C of the question, the ministry has learnt with much regret the passing away of 4 educators, 3 from the state sector and 1 from the private sector, as well as in 1 caretaker from a primary government school. I seize the opportunity to express my deepest sympathy to the bereaved families.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I join you to present my condolences to these families. Now, Honourable Minister, would we have saved these students from contracting the virus or whatever unpleasant experiences we have had if we had closed the schools earlier?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I've been answering questions in this Parliament a number of times, and we've been saying that all over the world we're going through very hard times, and UNESCO and UNICEF have been saying that we should try as far as possible not to close schools and to keep schools open. Yet, we have at heart the interest and the safety of our children, and we had decided to close schools when we felt it is important to do so. We must not forget that children have to carry on with their studies. Education continuity remains a major issue, and therefore we took the decision when we felt it was the right time to take it.
The Honourable Vice Prime Minister, if vaccination of children under the age of 12 is being considered by government?
At this point in time, Mr. Speaker, sir, considering the number of vaccines that we have on the island, we're planning to do the vaccination of students from grade 7 onwards. But right now, we have been doing it for students between 15 and 17 years of age. Once we've completed this batch, we can think of moving to the lower classes, but not earlier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, may I ask the Honourable Minister whether emotional support is being provided through educational psychologists to our kids whose families have come across tragedies in recent weeks?
Mr. Speaker, sir, the National Education Counselling Services of the Ministry is in fact working closely with people, parents and students who have asked for support at the level of the Ministry.
Honourable members, I'll suspend the sitting for 1 hour and a half.